Most people are missing this one key step when it comes to unlocking your metabolism and accelerating fat loss. If you're someone who's tried everything, right? You've tried cutting carbs, restricting yourself, these yo-yo diets, you've tried doing excess cardio, training intensely, and doing all these specific things, but you can't actually lose that last layer of belly fat and you can't build any muscle. You feel like you're going around in circles and nothing is actually changing. This video is for you. And if you're someone who's working long hours, you'd consider yourself an ambitious guy, you're working to provide for your family, and you find yourself seated for the majority of the day. We're going to dive down into this Miro board right behind me about your metabolism, right? And why it's actually slowed down in the first place, why you feel like you're not able to make any progress with your fitness goals, you're not able to lose the fat, build the muscle, any of those things. And then we're going to go into how to optimize it, how to prime it, and actually how to make it as smooth and efficient as possible, so fat loss and muscle gain is effortless. That being said, let's dive into it now. Here are the reasons why do you think your metabolism is broken and slow, and here's why it's actually slowed down. Okay, so in reality, your metabolism adapted to a sedentary lifestyle, abusing caffeine, under-eating, inconsistency, and stress, right? And your metabolism, right, is your total daily energy expenditure, which is your TDEE. And this is something that isn't fixed but responsive, which essentially means that it can be increased. And a slow metabolism simply means that it's adapted downward because it senses low energy availability. And that can be caused by some of the following, right? Repeated dieting, eating too little to stay lean, consuming too much junk food, poor sleep, high stress, inconsistent calories, lack of exercise and movement, and abusing caffeine. If you're someone who's working long hours, you're providing for your family, maybe even running a business, right? And you're seated the majority of the day. A lot of the time, you're going to be in a lot of these boxes, right? You're going to be, you've tried the restrictive dieting, you've tried cutting carbs, you've tried yo-yo dieting, you've tried restricting yourself to lose that last layer of fat, and you keep cutting your calories, right? Your sleep's not on point because you obviously have responsibilities and things you need to show up to. You have high stress levels, high responsibility, high demand, all of those sort of things. And you're abusing caffeine, drinking far too much caffeine, inconsistent calories, and you just don't have any real structure around your health like you do within your career or your business, right? And here are some of the adaptations that can lead to, okay? Number one is your NEAT, right? Which stands for your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is essentially your unconscious movement, from fidgeting, completing daily tasks, anything outside of physical activity that you burn calories throughout the day, just from breathing, existing, those sort of things. And obviously when you have more muscle mass and you're leaner, those things are metabolically active, causing you to burn more calories at rest. Okay. The number two is a thyroid output decrease. Okay. Slower metabolic rate, colder hands and feet, and you'll experience fatigue and feel lethargic. Number three, decrease in leptin, right? Which is your satiety hormone. Okay. Hunger becomes unpredictable, cravings increase, and your body strains to regain energy. And this is also why I'm against, one meal a day, restrictive diets, or cutting carbs, because first of all, it's simply not sustainable long term. And if you actually care about your hormones, your energy levels, your performance, losing fat and building muscle, you need to be eating frequently like humans nowadays are supposed to be, right? And understand, hunger isn't a lack of discipline, it's a hormone, right? So if you're restricting yourself, telling yourself, oh, I just need to keep cutting the calories, I'm just so close to losing that last layer of fat, understand that nothing is likely going to change, and you're not undisciplined because you're not eating a lot, right? It is literally a hormone and a signal that everyone has, and you need to be eating those calories, okay? And then what number is this? 4, increased cortisol, right? Which is your stress hormone. And that promotes fat storage, it breaks down muscle tissue, it impairs recovery and worsens sleep. Number 5, decreased training output. As a result, less glycogen storage, poor pumps, and stalled lifts. Okay, now here are some key points, right? So everyone says the metabolism slows down when in reality, you just stopped being as active. You stopped walking, sorry, or moving as much as you were before because of work and your responsibilities now. You're not hitting the gym as frequently as you once were. You're not training 3 to 4 days a week anymore like you were in high school. Your nutrition got worse. You eat junk food or whatever's being passed around in the workplace because of stress and low energy. You're eating those comfort foods. You're not really thinking outside of the box on how you can actually make health conscious decisions. And you have poor recovery and you're caffeine reliant, okay? Increased cortisol, lack of recovery and brain fog due to caffeine masking the poor energy levels and not fixing the root cause. Once your body has adapted to the new low energy state, everything around it has to reorganize, okay? And as a result of that, you're left with a decreased nutrient partitioning, which means more calories go to fat and fewer calories go to muscle, even being in a calorie surplus. Okay, why? Because training output is low, your cortisol's high, and your insulin sensitivity in your muscles is lower. Increased fat storage efficiency. So your body stores fat more easily and gains fat quickly, even at low calories, because your body thinks food is scarce and stores fat for survival, which is why this right here goes against I need to restrict myself to lose that last layer of fat, right? That complete mindset is just totally wrong. Because if you're constantly in the mindset of, I need to restrict myself, you're just essentially telling your own body that food is scarce, right? And as a result, it burns less calories at rest, which is your NEAT. That decreases. And then it's holding on to the energy and burning less energy because you're not consuming more, which as a result, fat loss stalls even more. And you're just going around in circles, not making any progress, stuck in the same sort of position. Okay, then the next one is decreased digestion efficiency. So increased bloating, poor appetite, foods feel heavy, and you have inconsistent hunger signals, which is why stress suppresses digestion, cortisol downregulates digestion and absorption. Then we have decreased recovery capacity. So soreness lasts longer, sleep quality drops, and your CNS is fatigued, which stands for your central nervous system. Why? Low calories, poor glycogen, and high stress hormones. As a result, fat loss stalls, muscle gain slows, hormones tank, and motivation dies. Okay, so as you can see, literally just from these few pillars, that you can already tell restricting yourself and trying to cut corners is not the answer to building muscle or helping you out on your fat loss journey. You can't cut corners when it comes to your health and fitness if you actually want to build long-lasting results and have the foundation and the body to be able to do that efficiently. Okay, so moving on to the next step, what actually is metabolism priming? Okay, so metabolism priming is the process of restoring the body's capacity, hormone environment, and stress tolerance so it can safely and efficiently burn fat and build muscle whilst eating higher calorie intakes. Okay, and that is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So your recovery inputs, okay, so your recovery capacity is your body's ability to repair, adapt, and recover itself after exercise stress, and is driven by the following. Okay, so we have sleep quality and duration. If your sleep is off and you're getting poor sleep, it doesn't matter what you do in the gym, you're not going to actually maximize the progress you make. You're not going to feel your best. You're going to have brain fog. You're not going to repair, right? You're going to have high inflammation, and you're going to be wasting pretty much most of the time of the effort you're putting in the gym. Next thing is breathing. Okay, so nasal versus mouth breathing. Okay, a lot of people don't think this actually makes a difference, but I can safely say, as I use mouth tape now every single night, and it makes a significant difference, especially when you're in that deep sleep. You actually gain, I'm not sure percentage wise what it is, but a large amount of more oxygen, available oxygen, when you breathe through your nose, which is a fun fact. So increased recovery and more oxygen distributed to your body. Okay, and then nutrition, timing, and sufficiency. Undereating signals to your body that food is scarce, making your metabolism adapt downward, which is essentially what we just spoke about before. And then training, stress management. Too much stress without recovery lowers output, not raises it. It can also damage your mentality and lead to burnout. And we also have daily stress load. Okay, work, caffeine, screens. Your body doesn't separate life stress and gym stress. Okay, and then we have parasympathetic versus your sympathetic nervous system. So these two modes that your nervous system uses to operate. Your sympathetic nervous system, which is your stress and output mode, is activated by training, deadlines, caffeine, poor sleep, undereating, and your parasympathetic nervous system is your recovery and your rebuild mode, right? It's activated when your body feels safe and comfortable and is actually responsible for controlling muscle repair, hormone balance, digestion, deep sleep, and fat oxidation. Okay, so think about it like this. Your sympathetic nervous system is when you're training, when you're under pressure, under stress, you're putting in work essentially, right? Your heart rate's elevated, you're stimulated. Whereas your parasympathetic nervous system is when you're recovering, when you're, in a deep sleep, is when you're just finished training, right? And your heart rate finally stabilizes and goes back to that, the level recovery. Okay. And that's super, super important, because if you try and mix and match both of them throughout the day, neither your training or your recovery is going to be good, and your progress is going to stall. Okay. And then as a result, when your body is constantly in this state, it never enters its parasympathetic state, which makes recovery slow and your metabolism adapt downward. Okay. If you never recover, like I said, you're quite literally stalling your fat loss. Okay. Like I said again, if you have made it this far in the video, check out the description below, right? If you do want one-on-one coaching, DM me change on Instagram. There'll be a link down below in the description, or you can book a link also in the description where we can hop on a call. I'll ask you some questions, see where you're at, see if you're actually a good fit. That being said as well, my DMs are always open. So if you have any questions about anything that we cover here or just anything in general, feel free to send me a message anytime. I'll respond to every single one of you. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so here are some of the non-negotiables for how you're going to start increasing and raising your metabolism. Okay, so starting over here, we have consistent sleep and wake window. So your consistent sleep and wake window, right? Set a strict time for work to end so you can focus on winding down and recovering. And this is why I truly believe that planning your days in advance and actually having everything, even written down on a calendar right then and there for you is super powerful, right? Because if you don't have a strict time to allow yourself to recover and actually wind down, you're just going to continue working because it feels more productive. And that's when you end up drinking caffeine late into the evening, you're looking at blue light, and then before you know it, you're sleeping at like 2 a.m. and then you have to wake up and do it all over again. And your health is once again on the back end of things. So you need a firm plan and structure in place and be really, really strict, right? You need to have intention and actually work efficiently so you can end at that specific time, and then take the time to work on yourself, actually, spend time on whatever it is, and then you can actually go ahead and do those things. And this will improve your recovery, your mental clarity, and reduce brain fog as your circadian rhythm, because your body clock will now be optimized, right? If you wake up and go to bed at the exact same time, your body clock, which is your circadian rhythm, will be optimized. You maximize recovery potential and muscle repair and all those sort of things. Okay, so how to optimize, right? Open windows, right? These are the things I like to do to make sure my sleep's on point and to the best of its ability. So open windows, use a fan to create a cool environment. 16 to 18 degrees, is optimal for testosterone and hormone production. No caffeine after 3 p.m. Use blue light blocking glasses in the evening to prevent blue light exposure when working, which will keep you up. So like I said, for you guys who are working long hours, you're running businesses, all of these sort of things, I get that it is pretty unrealistic for some of you to completely shut off any, devices, your phones or your laptop or whatever it is, after like 6, 7 p.m. I understand you still have stuff that you can actually do that might be efficient. And that being said, if you are doing that, make sure to wear blue light blocking glasses. I actually have a couple pairs on me over here, but they are super, super helpful in the sense that they're going to block the blue light, which is essentially what's keeping you up and signals to your brain that it's daytime. And then when you actually fall asleep, the process will be much quicker. You'll fall into a deeper sleep and get better quality sleep. Next thing is going to be purchase some mouth tape, right? And even nose tape for optimal breathing, jaw posture, and more available oxygen for recovery. Okay, what I like to do is it actually scares a lot of people because you can hardly see me when I sleep anymore because I have an eye mask and then I have nose tape, which essentially you put over your nose here, which is supposed to like help oxygen intake and all of those sort of things. And then the mouth tape, which goes over your mouth. So I pretty much can't see anything when I'm asleep. But that way you're maximizing your jaw posture, the amount of oxygen you can actually intake whilst you're sleeping. And trust me when I say it, try it for yourself. You do feel like a little weird the first time you put mouth tape on, but you do get a lot better recovery and it does make a big difference. Next thing is going to be get sun first thing in the morning. If you're somewhere sunny, that's definitely what you want to do. Step outside, expose yourself to the sun. Don't look straight at it, obviously, but just get outside. Even if you are located somewhere gloomy, like I'm in the UK, where, the sun's not always amazing, but still get outside, right? Still expose yourself to some sort of light or nature or whatever it may be. Last thing, supplement magnesium. That's just sort of an add-on if you want to go that route. Okay, next thing is going to be no caffeine after 3 p.m. So caffeine consumes a chemical called adenosine, which is a chemical produced by the brain, which is responsible for feeling sleepy, right? For making you sleepy. Okay, and as a result of that, falling asleep will be harder and your recovery won't be as sufficient. How to optimize? Pretty self-explanatory, this one. Don't drink caffeine after 3 p.m. Pretty simple. A lot of guys still get it wrong, though, because 3 p.m. does come around quick, especially if you're trying to convince yourself, this will help me just lock in, whatever it is. That locking in is actually ruining your sleep and harming your locking in to the day ahead. So just cut caffeine after 3 p.m. There really isn't a need if you do everything else correctly, okay? Next thing, 10K steps daily. 10K steps plus daily, sorry. Boosts cardiovascular health, supports and aids weight management, provides mental clarity, improves joint mobility, reduces anxiety, are some of the benefits, right? There's so many benefits to hitting 10K steps, like the mental clarity, the reducing brain fog, and it's just a great way to break up your day. I always notice such a massive difference when I do walk 10K steps every day to the times where I don't. Your productivity and your mood drops. Even when you feel like you've done a massive work block and you feel like you're exhausted, you go on a walk and it's almost as if like your creativity just spikes and you feel like you can go ahead and work some more. And that's the power of 10K steps. Even if some people try and say, I'm trying to build muscle, like there's no really need for me to hit 10K steps. Like, although you don't need intense cardio or anything like that to prime your metabolism, and walking is going to be the best thing for you, just for the mental benefits alone, I would still do it every single day. Even if I didn't know how it helped me manage my weight, how it helped, your body composition in check, and how it actually helps you burn calories. All of that aside, the mental benefits alone are enough to actually do this consistently. And when you do it consistently, you will notice how much more productive you are. It's not a waste of time. It's not something you think you can avoid because you're a career-driven guy working long hours. It's something that you need to be more intentional with because it's going to only help you out in the long run. Okay. You can break this up into 15 to 20 minute walks. Do that, 3 to 5 times a day, and you walk at a fairly brisk pace, and you will hit 10K steps every single day. About an hour 15, depending on how fast you walk, at a relatively decent pace, will get you 10K steps every single day. And I know for a fact, if everyone just takes out, 10 to 15 minutes here and there when they're doom scrolling, when they're on a break, where they can, just when they find little pockets of time here and there, if you take that time and just tell yourself, I'm going to go on a walk, I'm going to go on a walk here, I'm going to go on a walk here, and break it up throughout the day, you will hit 10K steps in no time at all. Okay. And then how to optimize. Like I said, split up the walks into 10 to 20 minute digestion walks after meals if you're on a tight schedule, and make small changes into your lifestyle as well. This is something that a lot of people overlook, right? Park further away when shopping. Walk to places if they're close by, because all of these small changes will add up. Okay.
Next thing, 3 to 4 structured strength sessions a week. Okay, 3 to 4 training sessions a week, half an hour to 45 minutes long, low volume, high intensity, prioritizing progressive overload and compound movements is how you make a significant amount of progress in a very short period of time. We all have half an hour to 45 minutes long, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you're going to feel, 100% energized if you're working long hours, it doesn't need to be the case. You just need to consistently show up and get it done in those half an hour to 45 minutes that you have free in the evening or in the morning before work, whatever it is. Instead of doom scrolling, instead of wasting time, instead of, feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like you could be doing more, just get it done. Just get it done, because it's great for building muscle and bone density, for increasing your metabolism and mobility, right? Making daily tasks feel easier. Also manages chronic diseases and enhances mental health. So there's no reason for you not to be strength training. Only benefits. Super, super good for you. And especially you older guys, it's great for your bone density, longevity, and just your overall health and strength, right? Then how to optimize. Okay. Have a clear plan structured around your schedule to maximize efficiency and consistency. Prioritize compound movements and progressive overload each session to make sure you're getting stronger and building muscle week to week. Properly hydrate and fuel beforehand to get the most out of your training. One thing I did want to add as well is that a lot of guys try to procrastinate going to the gym or doing something that they necessarily don't want to do after a long day of work. The piece of advice I have is schedule it in your day, in your calendar, as if it was a meeting, right? And if you don't do that, set an exact time you're going to get it done. Or you can tell yourself, I'm going to do this and it's going to happen after this. Essentially, you tell yourself, I'm going to go and hit the gym straight after work, or I'm going to hit the gym straight after breakfast before I go to work in the morning. And you set like a specific time period of when you're going to do it. That is also a great way to go ahead and get it done. Last thing, simple and quality nutrition 90% of the time. Okay, simple, clean foods the majority of the time. Micronutrient dense, at least 40 to 50 grams of protein per meal to feel satiated and feel fuller for longer. Track for the first 6 to 8 weeks to educate yourself, and then eat clean at least 90% of the time. And then the 10% of the time, you can allow yourself to eat those treats, serve your cravings, and even go out to eat, right? And if you do find yourself going out to eat on a regular, or that's just something that you like to do, make sure you always pick a protein source, something that's healthy, right? A micronutrient dense protein source, and then base your other macros around it. Right, so never go into somewhere you don't know and pick either something that isn't healthy for you, or is like fried food, or it's not cooked in like the best way possible for you. If you're trying to prime your metabolism and actually get it to that stage where fat loss and muscle gain is effortless, those changes temporarily are going to significantly help you, right? If you are eating out regularly. Because you want to know, first of all, what you're actually eating, what it's being cooked in, and how it's actually going to make you feel. So base your meals around a quality protein source, because that's the thing that's going to impact you the most, make you feel the most full, and actually do the most for you. And then you can obviously base your other macros around it. How to optimize. Utilize meal prepping on the weekend to save time, energy, and decision fatigue throughout the week. I've heard so many people say that meal prepping takes too much time. And what I don't get is that if you're making dinner, or like you have an hour of free time, just make a significant amount of more food. It doesn't take, if you're making a meal anyway, it doesn't take more time necessarily, or much more time, to cook a larger amount of that food. And then you split it up. And then during the week, when you're not only exhausted and you're hungry, and now instead of having to think about what to eat and where to get it from, you just have it straight on you. You know it's going to serve you. You know it tastes good, and it's something you enjoy. And now you don't have to waste money or time waiting for some other meal or some fast food restaurant nearby. Now you can just actually eat it, knowing full well that it's going to help you get closer to your goals. That's the beauty of meal prepping, right? Number 2, rotate and frequently eat meals that you enjoy and are high protein and micronutrient dense. So don't fix what's not broken, right? If something is working for you, you have meals that are healthy, micronutrient dense, and you really, really enjoy them, just rotate those meals, eat those meals regularly, because like I said, it eliminates decision fatigue, the time you have to waste, and all those sort of specific things there. And I do this, right? I have avocado, sourdough, and scrambled eggs pretty much 5 or 6 days a week for breakfast. I have the Greek yogurt bowls with the honey, the granola, the bananas, the frozen berries, and the dark chocolate as like a snack. I have that whenever because they're so versatile. And then I'll also utilize rice, ground beef, and then mix it in with Greek yogurt that pretty much acts as sour cream. Those 3 meals, I always make sure that I have on me, right? Because they're like my go-tos. Whenever I don't, I'm not trying to test something out, whenever I'm just trying to go through a day, making sure I'm eating the right foods, those are the foods that I'm picking up, right? No overcomplications. There's no long time thinking about anything. It's literally just straight to it. I eat those foods. They taste amazing and they never get old. Because the same way you crave those fast foods and you crave comfort, when you actually expose yourself consistently and eat the right foods over a period of time, you can also crave good foods as well. So those Greek yogurt bowls, sometimes I get messages of people asking me like, how do you not get bored of the same foods? And it's because they genuinely taste amazing. They serve me and my body knows that they are allowing me to progress and they are what I actually should be eating. Okay. Next thing, don't restrict yourself or try to be perfect, right? Consistently eating the right foods whilst balancing those treats every now and then is optimal for sustainability and enjoyment. There's no point trying to, perfect everything, have all your habits up to standard, eat all the right foods, have a perfect gym session for 3 days in a row, and then you just give it all up because it's too difficult and it's not something you can stick to long term. If you can't see yourself sticking to it long term, don't attempt it at all because you're just going to waste your time and energy and most likely disappoint yourself. Okay, so these are all the non-negotiables. I'm going to get them all on the screen quickly here if you want to take a quick screenshot for whatever reason. Or you can just go back in the video. Here are the non-negotiables. Okay, moving up to the metabolism priming phase. So this is the last section here, right? So the goal of this phase is simple. It's to restore your recovery capacity before transitioning into a fat loss or a muscle gain phase. Think of it as priming your body's foundation to handle stress and adapt to training. So this is truly where we actually make the changes and we restore our metabolism so we can actually lose the fat, build the muscle, and it's just effortless and we don't really need to restrict ourselves. We don't need to overcomplicate anything. So here are some of the key pillars. These sort of do overlap with what we just went over, but they're like the most essential ones and the core pillars. Like these are the 3 things I want you to take away from this video if you actually want to prime your metabolism. And this is the only thing you watch out of this video. If this is the only thing you remember, it's this, everything on the screen right now. Okay. So number 1, sleep restoration. Okay. And this sort of goes with caffeine as well. I forgot to add that in here, but sleep is a key foundation for this process. Better sleep leads to increased recovery and increased metabolism. If your sleep is currently poor, this is the first thing that you should be aiming to fix. Sleep timing and circadian rhythm also matters, as we spoke about previously. Waking up and going to bed at the exact same time, you should be aiming to do that. Now, I completely get, like I said, it's unrealistic sometimes, especially us guys who are running businesses who have things going on. That's not always the case. But you want to aim to do that every single night and be conscious about it. And don't be the guy that tells yourself, I'm just going to be productive, get a couple more hours of work done, and then you're pounding caffeine, and then you're lying on your bed, staring at your ceiling, not able to go to sleep because you've consumed far too much caffeine. Don't be that guy. Take the time off, end on a high, and actually make sure you stick to your routine, plan the day ahead, and actually get the rest that you need. Next thing, simple and quality nutrition 90% of the time. So like I said previously, this is also one of the main factors that's going to help you prime your metabolism. Because although eating the right foods is obviously essential for ensuring that you manage stress, you don't have brain fog, you limit your inflammation, you prioritize your hormones, energy production, all of those specific things, it is also just as important, if not more, to make sure you're eating enough, right? And not making the mistake of cutting calories and thinking you need to restrict yourself to lose that last layer of fat, because that's going to do nothing for you. Okay. Calorie sufficiency is essential for priming our metabolism, hormone production, energy levels, and muscular repair. Without eating enough, your body thinks food is scarce, causing your metabolism to adapt downward to conserve the calories you burn. And then you're just stuck. Your body's holding on to the last layer of fat you have because it thinks that's the only storage of energy you're actually giving it. And then that's why restricting yourself and constantly lowering calories doesn't contribute to fat loss. It contributes to a decrease in health, to be honest. It doesn't do anything for you. And then the last thing is stress management. Managing stress, not only physical but mental stress, is important for metabolism priming. Poor stress or even chronic stress can have negative effects on your central nervous system. To manage stress, taking part in activities such as walking or stretching is a great option and provides other benefits such as boosts productivity and reframes focus. Like I said, training, walking, stretching, all of these things that are essential for priming your metabolism are all of the exact things that are responsible for fighting stress and managing your cortisol. We don't want cortisol, right? That's your stress hormone. When your testosterone is high, that is pretty much like the opposite of having high cortisol. And right now, the reason you're not able to make progress you want is because your cortisol is high. It's because you're abusing the caffeine. You're living a sedentary lifestyle. You're not consuming the right foods. Okay. And that's all playing a massive part and little by little causing your metabolism to decline and settle for the standard that it's currently at. Okay. So key reminders. Okay. Now you've covered the key pillars and understanding what causes your metabolism decline and how to effectively prime it so muscle gain and fat loss is effortless. Okay, and remember, fixing your metabolism isn't about a quick fat loss or intense training, but restoring your body's capacity so it can handle more. So like I said before, if you try to use this as like a challenge, or you try to cut corners, you try to make it an incredibly fast process, and you're just not willing to stick it out and actually prime your metabolism, it doesn't matter what you do after that. You're never going to make the progress you want. So you need to increase your calories, even if your goal is to lose fat. If you're restricting yourself right now, increase your calories slowly, very, very slowly, 100 to 200 calories every few days or even a week, right? You're going to have to figure that out for yourself, what you respond to best. And like I said, if you do want help with anything we covered in this video or anything fitness related, do send me a DM on Instagram, right? My DMs are always open. I'll get back to you as quick as I possibly can. Check out the description below. You can DM me the word change as well if you want one-on-one coaching. And also go ahead and book a call below if you're serious and you want to take it straight there and you're not interested in finding out any more information. I'll ask you some questions, see where you're at, see if it makes sense and you're a good fit, and then we can move forward from there. But like I said, don't rush anything. Don't try and cut corners because you will waste your time and energy. That being said, this is the full metabolism priming guide. Feel free to rewind the video anytime if you want to